Hello guys, welcome back. Today we have a meta duel against Yubel Fiendsmith, and I'm playing Chimera Fiendsmith, as always. I'm playing against a very good player. He topped recently at the most competitive local of our country. And he's playing Yubel, as you see, and he won the dice, so he goes first. He starts with Fiendsmith, going into Luri, into Requiem. Requiem will summon Engraver. Pretty standard stuff, you know by now. Fiendsmith Yubel is just a very explosive deck in the meta right now. It's probably the best deck at the moment. And as you see, he summons back Engraver. Actually, he goes into Necroquip, and then he summons back Engraver. And in his hand, you see 1 for 1, some Lotus, Nibiru, and I guess one other card. Sequence goes into maybe Area Litter, using Luri and Engraver, and Area Litter can dump some Lotus if he doesn't have it to reborn it, or he can just dump maybe a Squirmer or a Spirit of Yubel. He decides to dump the Squirmer, as you see. In his hand, the last card we don't know is Beckoning, so he normal summons Beckoning to add Opening. He knows what I'm playing, so he knows that he doesn't have to play around hand traps, so he can do full combo. Opening adds another Beckoning. He uses his second normal summon on Samsara. Samsara summons Spirit. Spirit places the Pain, and Pain destroys Spirit to add another Spirit. So now he's protected from my attacks as well. Spirit summons Yubel. Pretty standard stuff by now. This duel was an hour or so I have to speed it up and cut some stuff. He goes into Yama. Yama will add Sarvara. So now he has access to also rank 6 Caesar, which is very dangerous against my deck. He pops Yubel. Yubel will summon the level 11. Now he can go into the rank 6 and into Soul of Rage. And after that, he can summon with Squirmer and with Opening, so he has also access to the rank 10. Opening will discard his second Beckoning. He will overlay into, of course, Varudras, and he can also go into Phantom. So he has like 2 interruptions of Caesar, 1 interruption of Soul of Rage, summoning SP, so it's 2.5 maybe. Phantom of Yubel is another interruption, and Varudras. I start with Patchwork to bait interruptions because I have a Book of Eclipse in my hand, and Book of Eclipse basically deals with his board. His hand is 2 cards, of which I know one of them is a Spirit, and he has set the 1 for 1, which in my eyes is like probably an Imperm or a Callby. So I have to play around that as well. He pops Varudras. For some reason, I thought he wanted to use Yama, but he doesn't. I didn't know why he did that, but I think he did that to maybe summon a smaller token of Nibiru. Yeah, because he didn't know I have a Book of Eclipse. I discard Fusion to go into Apprentice. Apprentice can add any illusion. I have Adacid Gold and Chimera Fusion, as you see, last 2 cards. Not the greatest, to be honest, to deal with all of his interruptions. He shotguns Soul of Rage to go into SP to get rid of the Chimera Fusion. I add Coatl, and SP will banish my Chimera Fusion to not allow me to have access. I will add Gazelle off of Coatl, and I will not normal summon it because if he has a permanence, the last card, I'm into a big trouble because if I chain Chimera Fusion, he can just chain SP. So that's why I hard summon Performet now, and I will add also Swordnet to play around Nibiru as well. Because now I can do full Fiendsmith combo, and I am protected from SP with Coatl. So now all he has is 1 unknown in hand and 1 unknown on field. I dump Engraver, unfortunately, because I draw Dusted Gold, which is not optimal because I want to summon Dusted Gold with the Evil Hero. So I go into Requiem, having used the Engraver Graveyard effect, unfortunately, to return the Dusted Gold, because I didn't have any other choice. I activate Requiem, he changes SP, I change Coatl. So my plan here is to use Engraver to send his Phantom of Yubel to the graveyard, but unfortunately he has Nibiru. I honestly think if he didn't have Nibiru, I think I would OTK this turn after all of these interruptions. So now I'm in a very difficult spot because he has a lot of follow-up and I don't have enough to push for game because he also has the Spirit in hand. So I summon Performant adding 2 and I have to go for Guardian Chimera because I need to get rid of the monsters that are set right now, and I also need to get rid of the pain because if I attack, he can just summon spirit and I need to attack the spirit, so this way I would lose. And I summon Guardian Chimera, I summon back Sword Knight, I draw a card. Thankfully, it's a good one. I am thinking very hard on what to pop, and I decided to pop the Last Unknown because if you have full information of what your opponent has, it's better to play around with stuff. And if that set was like something very, very good, I would be in more trouble. So now I attack Caesar. He doesn't activate either Spirit or Yama. He just activates Sarvara to set the card, which was weird, to be honest, because he could summon something. Thankfully, Patchwork gave me access to a Feint and a Polymerization. So I go for Chimera to discard the last card in hand because it's a huge follow-up boost for him. But unfortunately, he will get a draw, which is not the best because he has also opening. But I couldn't pop opening. Maybe it could be the correct play. But I'm not in the worst case scenario. I have Swordnet, which I use. He changes Phantom, I negate with Swordnet immediately. Performant adds 2 cards. So all I'm thinking right now is how to play around the last remaining card. He goes into his second Phantom. I was thinking maybe I could use Guardian Chimera, but if I do that, he activates Yama, Summon Spirit, and then I lose. So what are my options right now? He activates Engraver. And Engraver is very dangerous because it instantly baits an interruption I have with Requiem. So I have to summon, unfortunately, the Coatl that I have banished. And that's what I'm gonna do. I summon Coatl, so if he activates Engraver to send one of my monster, I will activate Coatl to negate and destroy, which is pretty good. But the danger has not left right now, and he has thrown as a top deck. So yeah, very unfortunately. He destroys Spirit, so now he has also access to Spirit thanks to opening. He added Spirit and he discarded Spirit to summon it back with opening. Opening had also back the Nightmare Pain, which will pop Spirit to go into Squirmer in hand, and he can activate both the Spirit and the Throne to summon a Yubel and the level 11 Yubel. Thankfully, all of my monsters have low defense, so even if he summons 4 Yubel, he cannot attack for game. And I have pushed through a lot of his interruptions, so he cannot summon a Varudras or something because I have destroyed all of that. So we're in a good spot right now. All I'm thinking right now is how to use my Chimera Fusion without dying, because if I use Chimera Fusion to go into second Guardian Chimera, he can just punch for game, and if he summons like a 4th Yubel monster, if I go into Magnum I also die. So I have to stay with these monsters right now and use Chimera Fusion as last resort if he overextends. You see his board, he has a lot of cards in hand and on field, and I only have 2 cards in hand and a Chimera Fusion that I can use. But I have a strong defense right now, and he's thinking a lot on what to do. He decides that he wants to go into Sequence. Sequence can summon Desiree, which is an immediate threat to my Chimera Fusion, and I believe he should activate sequence right away to equip into the Desiree, because that's the best way to force my Chimera Fusion, if at all. But he doesn't do that. I think he goes into the battle phase, or he maybe summons some Sarah Lotus. Instead, he decides to go to the battle phase and attack with 3 Yubel monsters, which is a lot of damage, but not enough. And Desiree can attack my Performate. So now I am guaranteed to have a turn, but the difficult thing is that I have to go for game next turn, otherwise I lose. And he has 3 interruptions at his field, plus a set card, plus Yama on the graveyard. He activates sequence to equip on Desiree on Memphis 2, and there I chain Chimera Fusion to go into Magnum. So Magnum can trade with Desiree, because when he chooses to Desiree, I can chain Magnum to go and pop the equip. So Yubel in the end phase tributes his level 11, so it doesn't pop everything. And I have added Apprentice with Gazelle. And I have Chimera Fusion add, Magnum draw, and Magnum pop. So it's not the worst. I add Chimera Fusion from the graveyard. He lets it through, of course. And I activate Magnum to draw a card. Thinking maybe he can activate something to bait. I activate Patchwork. He cannot activate Desiree because he will trade with my Magnum, and he will use 2 or 3 cards just to bait one. So I add Polymerization plus Gem Chain. It's good to have more fusion spells in hand to bait all of his interruptions. Maybe Chain Block with a Guardian Chimera. But the pressure is still high because I need to go for game, and he has Yaman in the graveyard plus the escape. So I'm still in a very tough spot. I discard Yubels to go into Apprentice. Apprentice will activate the effect. It's not the worst to negate here because it cuts off my follow-up, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't actually remember what he chose. So he chooses to activate Samsara Lotus, destroying the Yubel, and chain 1 is Yubel, chain 2 is Nightmare Throne. Throne will... actually, chain 3 is Yama. So Yama will summon back the Soul of Rage, which is an interruption, and he has Escape. He summons the Yubel, and now his trap card is live as well. I choose to link it to Crosship. Crosship will be a very good thing to bait stuff, because if he chooses to use it now, it's not the worst. But if he doesn't choose to use it now, I can summon Engraver, and because Crosship points to a fusion, I can summon back a monster, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So Engraver is free. Here, he lets it through, I activate Crosship, and he's reading Crosship. He knows that he can't let me have it. So what he should have done is activate Escape on the Crosship, but instead he activates Phantom, and because he doesn't have any other Yubel monsters on the deck, he will have to pop the Terror Incarnate. So now what I have done is I have cleared all of the Yubel monsters on field, so Nightmare Pain is not a problem. And all I have to deal with is Soul of Rage and Desiree. But he also has the Spirit of Jubel in hand, because he can add it back with Soul of Rage. So I instantly go into SP, targeting Soul of Rage, and he special summons the Squirmer, and he pops Soul of Rage. I don't remember if Squirmer can do that if you don't have a Jubel monster. I don't think he can, but I didn't remember it at the time. So he adds back Spirit of Yubel, I activate Poly, he activates Desiree, I chain Magnum. So now I'm not locked from attacking directly because the monster was not banished. And I go into Performate, which will dump Master Tau, and Master Tau will summon back Apprentice, which is a board breaker in this situation. And that's very important. Now I can go into Fiendsmith Lines, because I have a Necrom in the graveyard, and Necrom can summon the Adjusted Gold. I go into Sequence. Sequence will I add back the engravers to my deck, which is very important because I need a target to summon Requiem, and Requiem will summon from deck. So Area Leader will send Luri. I don't need to send anything now, it's just deck thinning. So now I go into Requiem. Requiem will summon the last Engraver, and the Engraver can deal with Desiree because Sequence will equip it. And now I have two level 6 Fiend monsters, so I can also go for DDD to deal with Spirit in hand. And he has nothing right now. I go into the DDD, I set a card, Yubel's pops his last monster, and I attack for exact game, I think. So that's 8,000 damage through this board. It was an amazing game one, to be honest. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Very technical plays and very tough decisions to take from both players because the skill ceiling was very high, I think, and you need to play your interruptions the best you can because if you make one single mistake in this duel, you get punished heavily. And as you see, he starts with Samsara Lotus. He goes into the classic Yubel combo. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a good hand to do full combo. But as you see, he has Ash Blossom plus Druishurm, which are very good interruptions in this case. And I remember my hand was absolutely tragic because it was Dark Ruler, double Chimera Fusion, and double Gazelle. So even the fewest interruptions can win the game. He goes into Fiendsmith package, he summons Engraver, he summons Necroquip, and Engraver will summon back. And it's a difficult choice to make here, but he goes into the Link 2 because just the Fiendsmith package and Yubel can give you full Yubel combo. So here with Area Leader he dumps whatever, he can dump anything because he has Wyrmer. He dumps Beckoning Beast for follow-up because if you pop the Soul of Rage it can add it back, and Beckoning Beast is an amazing card to have because it gives you a lot of follow-up and advantage. He goes into Sarvara and pops Yubel. Here what he should have done is probably overlay for the level 10 and maybe summon an SP. But what he chooses to do is link into Yama adding back and setting an escape with Sarvara. But now he doesn't have access to good stuff, so he must get rid of his Yubel to go into Soul of Rage, and he just has an Area Leader standing there. So it's not the best. Maybe he should have used Area Leader Graveyard Effect and have an SP as well. A top deck Patchwork, which gets immediately asked, which is very unfortunate. I activate Dark Ruler on Res, and I summon Gazelle, he activates Escape, and that's very unfortunate because I don't have a correct type to Chain Chimera Fusion to dodge it. So he gets a lot of advantage of that. He summons back with Yama and adds the Beckoning. I need to add Necrom because it's a level 5 Fiend and fuse with the Gazelle in hand. But unfortunately, I don't have a Coatl to dodge the Soul of Rage. So I can't do much, and he changed Beastel as well. And SP will banish my fusion monster, so I can't add back Chimera Fusion. So I'm left with nothing here, and all I have is a Chimera Fusion and one add with Gazelle, which does nothing because I have used my normal summon. I dump a Graver, but I can't do anything, so I scoop. And we have to go to game 3. So I'm happy actually that we play 3 games because the gameplay is very good in my opinion. I start with Gazelle. Gazelle helps you play through Droll, which he has. And in his hand you see Nibiru and Ash Blossom. So I have to play through 3 hand traps right now, and he has a very good hand. I try to go into the Fiendsmith package with Sinister Necrom, but in my head I also have to play around Nibiru. And the gameplay when you get rolled is basically add 1 or 2 Chimera Fusions from graveyard to hand. And so you can go either into Garden Chimera plus Magnum on his turn, or you can go 1 Chimera Fusion and the other you use to go into the Chimera to discard, which is very good if he uses a lot of hand traps. I'm thinking of going into Fiendsmith package, but I have to respect Nibiru, so I use Chimera Fusion to go into Chimera King, and I get asked on the Requiem. So I'm happy that I have played around Nibiru, because if he chooses to Nibiru, I have a lot of follow-up in the graveyard, and I got lucky with the discard because it was a Samsara Lotus. He summons Luri. I have a Chimera Fusion that I can use to pop it, but I get punished by a lot of things, and I have to play around everything because it's a very important game. He uses Spirit in hand plus the Samsara to go into Phantom. So Phantom protects his Fiendsmith line. I tried to negate, but he changed Phantom. But all I wanted is to have Swordnet banished, so I can summon it back and then summon Berfomet from the deck. So I have more options to fuse into his turn. So he summons Yubel plus the Engraver, and now he has one card in hand. And in my mind, I have to play around the cards that beat me this turn. Because if I go into Guardian Chimera and summon back anything, he can use Engraver, equip it with Requiem, send my monster that is a threat to him, and activate Throne, or activate an opening of the Spirit Gates or something like that. And I would lose the game because I would have a Guardian Chimera with a lot of points, a lot of attack and defense points, and he can attack for a game. So I have to play around that. So that's why I let him go into the Fiendsmith lines and going into area later, dumping the Squirmer most probably. And he chooses to use Engraver to fuse. So now I'm out of the trouble that I mentioned earlier, and he still has that one unknown in hand. You see how careful I have to be just to play around the card that beats me. So I let him summon Spirit, and after using Spirit's effect, now I can activate Chimera Fusion, because if that last card is indeed the Throne, he cannot use so many things to beat me this turn, because he will not have access to Nightmare Pain. So that's why I activate Chimera Fusion, and I will use two Masters on field to pop two cards. And it's very difficult to choose which monster to pop, because the area leader can come back. Spirit will summon a Yubel from the graveyard, so it does nothing. So I have to pop Sequence, just because it's a link 2, maybe he can link line more. And I have, of course, to pop the Nightmare Pain. And Diabels right now deals with talents or maybe Throne, unless he chooses to go into SP. So that's exactly what he's doing. But I'm not afraid to get Diabels banished, because now I know even if the last card is Throne, he cannot go for game. And when he chooses to banish Chimera, I know that he doesn't have a good card in hand. But I have played through everything, and I have a lot of follow-up. I activate Chimera in the end phase to summon the Gazelle, and Gazelle can add a Performant, and I have access to a Fusion in hand. So now I'm thinking that his last remaining card must be a hand trap, because he hasn't played that card for 2 turns, and he has SP plus Phantom plus an unknown card, which can also be a Spirit, but I don't think it would matter. So I summon the Apprentice, chain blocking with Edging Chain. Edging Chain was chaining 1, because I really need the patchwork, because it's a Feint plus a Polymerization. He changes SP, I change Chimera Fusion to dodge it. I go into Guardian Chimera, and thanks to Gazelle, I can chain block Guardian Chimera to get rid of the Phantom as well. So all he has now is just an Nibiru, and thankfully Guardian Chimera is an amazing card, and it draws into talent. So after resolving the chain, I have Swordnet, he summons Yubel, and the as I said earlier, Guardian Chimera is an amazing card. As you will see, talent is activated, and I have summoned 4 times. So the Nibiru will be returned to the deck, and now I win basically because all I have is just to deal with one Yubel, and Engraver can do just that. So all I have to do now is just summon Engraver and basically send it to the graveyard. A few lines just to go into that. I add a few cards. I add also Simular's Fiend. Better late than never, I guess. So that's the game. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the match. I really enjoyed playing it. It was a very difficult matchup. If you liked the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And as you see, I just win with Engraver effect.